Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/spookshow. Then go over to morbidlybeautiful.com as we are now part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcasting Network.
You see Santa Claus tonight? You better run, boy. You better run for your life.
But Mother Superior, it's Santa Claus.
Now I have another reason to hate Christmas.
Now that hell is full, I wonder where you will go.
The caller is in the house. The calls are coming from the house.
You're my family now.
But if you're bad boys and girls, your name goes in the bad boys and girls book, and I'll bring you something horrible.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
The All-American Spook Show Podcast.
Yes, I am. I'm coming to get you.
Hello and welcome to the holiday season here on the All-American Spook Show. We've kind of ducked it really up to this point for whatever reason. It's kind of fell this way. So we haven't really done much other than some of the stuff we've done over on YouTube this month. But we're finally getting around to a Christmas choice. Christmas horror, obviously, since that's our bread and butter. And it just so happened that this was the Professor's choice this month here on the Spook Show. So, Professor, what did you bring for us?
I'm going to go back into the Christmas slasher well. I don't know how many of these. We still got, the holidays horror movies. It's almost no shortage of Christmas movies.
Oh, no.
Some of the other ones, it's a stretch to pull out something to do for some of these other holidays. But Christmas, we'll be able to do for a while. But I wanted to do this slasher for a while now. So it's called Don't Open Till Christmas.
I think it's
from 1984.
I think it's a wonderful little present you left under the tree here to really kick us off here over the next couple of weeks. We'll get into that. But obviously, we are the All-American Spook Show. We forgot to mention that directly off the top. I'm Josh. I'm joined here with Donnie.
Yo.
Tiana.
Hey.
And the Professor Smoke.
Yep.
Will could not be with us. He had some stuff going on. So, like I said a couple weeks ago, we're in the holiday season now, so people are going to be jumping ship left and right, avoiding this as much as possible to spend time with their family. So, yeah, we have a big episode planned for next Monday. It just so happens that we always release our new episodes every Monday at 6 p.m. East. Just so happens that next Monday is Christmas Day. So we've got big plans for next week, and we will tell you what they're going to be at the end of the program. So you want to stick around for that. But we also want to tell you two things. Number one, we are a spoiler-filled podcast. So if for whatever reason you have not seen Don't Open Till Christmas, you might want to pause this, go check it out, come back, listen to the rest of it, and have some Yuletide fun with us around the old Yule log here. Also, we want you to go over to aaspookshow.com. Donnie, we need to put a Yule log up on the website. I think that's something that we should work on.
Good point. Yeah.
But yeah, if you go over there, you can check out all of our past podcast archives. You can get linked to our YouTube page, where every month from there we have Video Vortex, Grindhouse Gutter, Hammer Horror in Order, lots of cool stuff. And of course, the podcast episodes proper, we upload those up on YouTube if you'd rather have it on the screen in the background as you do other stuff like, a lot of people do, I'm sure. You can also get to our Patreon from there, or it's just standalone, patreon.com/aaspookshow. The big features over there are every month we have a video minisode featuring the Library of the Professor. Those are always fun. And our ever popular, to you the listener, but not necessarily to us, Crapster Piece Theater. Well, we've got a doozy. It's coming out this week, as a matter of fact. It comes out at the end of this week on Friday, probably around noon. Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. Now, why, in God's name, you, the voters, the listeners, would subject us to this? It's like you put a big present under the tree, and it's got bows on it, and it looks awesome. And then we go over there and we open it up, and it's just a fat steaming turd that's sitting under the tree waiting on us on Christmas Day. So that's the early Christmas gift to you guys, is that we have to suffer through it.
It's worse than coal.
Crapster Piece Theater is the monthly bag of coal for sure, even when it's not Christmas time. But this month in particular, it's pretty bad. So you want to stick around for that. Donnie doesn't have to be there, though, because he nominated it, and the rules of Crapster Piece. He didn't have to be there if he wins. So
It's true. Yeah.
He's the
That's why I nominated it, because I was like, oh man.
Yeah, we call him around here. We call him Donnie Lucky Fuck Richmond. I think that's the current moniker. So yeah,
well,
that's enough of that shit out of the way. So yeah, stick around over on patreon.com/AA Spookshow for that later this week and lots of other cool stuff. So without any further build up, let's go ahead and toss to the trailer for Don't Open Till Christmas.
Present from the people who brought you Friday the 13th. Now comes Don't Open Till Christmas.
A homicidal maniac is loose at Christmas. His target is Santa Claus. No one dressed as Santa Claus is safe. His death toys are a spear, a gun, an open razor, a dagger, or a garrote. Execution by any means. Don't open till Christmas. Some Santa Clauses ignore the warnings. He surely wouldn't attack a woman. Don't Open Till Christmas with special guest star Carolyn Monroe.
Yes, I am. I'm coming to get you.
Terror drives one Santa Claus into a house of wax. Amidst the wax and plaster, a real body, warm flesh, wet blood. Don't open till Christmas.
What possible reason could I have for going around killing Santas?
Oh, none. No.
Yeah. I'm coming to get you.
So, Santa, did you bring me any presents?
I'm not the real one.
Starring Edmund Purdom, who knows there are only 3 more killing days till Christmas. Don't open till Christmas. If you do, you may not see in the new year.
All right, there's the trailer for that. So, Donnie, I'll ask you first. Have you ever seen this before?
I have not. No, this is a first time watch.
Same for me. Now, I've seen the cover, the poster, whatever. I've seen that before. It's been like, yeah, I can get around to that, and then every year it's just, whatever. There's 1,000 Christmas movies, horror or non-horror related to watch, and I never get around to it. Something tells me the Smokes probably have a different view on this one. So, Tiana, what about you? Is this the first time?
Yeah, this is my first time too. I kept putting it off.
Professor, I'm kind of disappointed in how you've turned out. I figured you would have made her sit down and watch this, if nothing else.
Well, you'll be surprised at this. This is the first time I've seen it.
What? I am surprised. I really am surprised.
That was one of the reasons why I was wanting to put this one on there. I wasn't sure if I'd seen it because, I wasn't sure if it's just one of those ones I'd rented back in the day and it would like jog my memory as I'm watching it. But no, I never, for whatever reason.
As you kept going and saying, no, I've never back. That's wow. So this is a first time watch for all of us. So this is definitely rare air. And I know I talked to Will. He had not seen it before, and he did give me a couple of his thoughts on the movie, and I'll tell you what he had to say about it a little bit later on. But wow, so none of us have ever seen this movie. I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say that at the beginning because I just wasn't sure. I thought for sure I would start watching. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
Nope.
I remember that hobo dying, or that hobo, or that other
remember
hobo.
That scene in the journal that we'll get to later?
Yeah.
I would definitely have remembered that one if I'd seen it.
Jesus, man. Wow. Yeah, we got a lot to get into with this one, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm really legitimately surprised by that. I figured at least one of us would have seen it, especially the Smokes, for sure. But I guess let's go ahead and get into some of the background so we can start talking about it, because we got a lot to unpack as far as the blow by blow of this movie goes. It was released December 19th, 1984, pretty much worldwide. Produced by this sounds like a front, like a money laundering scheme or something. It was produced by Spectacular Trading International. I mean, does that not sound like some fake business that like some front for money laundering or God knows what? Maybe we shouldn't properly answer that. We might get knifed. It was distributed though by 21st Century Film Corporation. I don't think that's not like 20th Century Fox thing, right? This is like some other thing from the 70s. 21st Century Film
Corporation. Some other
Corporation.
thing that they wanted to kind of sound like 20th Century Fox. So.
Oh yeah, it sounds close enough. Where you're like, oh yeah, it's them. But no, it's not them. Of course, if you've ever seen this, it's rated R, Total runtime of 1 hour and 26 minutes. On IMDb, it's listed as a horror/mystery. It was filmed. I couldn't find a budget or even, what kind of money this thing made. If it did hardly any at all, I doubt. But it was filmed in various locations there in London, England, from December of 1982 all the way to early 1984. So over a year of this thing in principal photography. And I don't know if you guys saw any background information on this, but apparently this thing kind of went through various stages of hell to even finally get made, because the lead actor and director was Edmund Purdom. He's the guy that plays Inspector Harris, right? He's the main cop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He apparently was directing it, like I said, and apparently he quit at some point.
And it was his stipulation upon acting in it that he directed. That's what he was. He was going to act in it if they let him direct it, but then he quit. Guess he found out he didn't like directing.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle is fuck this. So they actually start reshooting stuff, and then at some point he just came back, and then they ended up, I guess, having to put some of the original scenes back in and reshoot some of that stuff. So, needless to say, this thing was it was a clusterfuck. I mean, it's a miracle that we even got what we got here, considering knowing some of that background.
It does show though in the final cut of the movie.
Oh, it does.
That just sort of going through different hands and stuff.
I didn't get Donnie. Maybe you can look while we're talking. I didn't catch who the editor was on this, but man, it's a little rough. Editing wise, because not necessarily, we've watched Home Sweet Home comes to mind. We've watched plenty of movies that are just shittily put together, right? This one isn't as bad as those. This one's more like the sound editing's, not very good. There's a lot of jump cuts. Like I said, not the worst we've ever seen, but just not very well put together. And honestly, it might not even be entirely that person's fault, knowing some of what we just talked about, but.
Yeah, so editor was Ray Self.
Yeah.
And this was the last thing he ever edited.
What?
Also, his name popped up for a director on this thing, so I guess he went in and put on his director hat because he was one of the directors whose hands was in it after Edward Purdom originally.
Yeah, he did.
But
yeah, he was after Purdom, however you say his name, once he quit, then there was writer Derek Ford was hired to take over as director, but he got fired after 2 days. Then they finally fuck, who's going to do this? Then they got Ray Self or Selfie. It says Selfie here, but whatever.
Selfie. Yeah.
That's what it says here, but whichever one. Doesn't matter. It's shit either way, right? He was the director, and Alan Birkinshaw was hired to rewrite the majority of the script because now they got to take Purdom out, right? So then I guess at some point, no, I was just messing with you. I'm back. And then I guess they kind of reverted back to what it was supposed to be. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's a miracle that you got something as cohesive as we got, considering all that horse shit over the course of over a year, So I guess there's that. But I found that was very interesting. It really stars not many you know from other stuff, right? I mean, there's Alan Lake that played Giles. Now, apparently, he, unfortunately, committed suicide shortly before the film was released because his wife had died, who I guess was an actress, Diana Dors. Yeah, she was an English actor and singer. She had died, so he killed himself before. I'm not laughing. That's horrible, but it's just troubled. That's all you can say, right? I mean, this thing troubled, almost cursed. I could see an episode of Cursed Films coming out of this, maybe on Shudder, right?
Yeah,
you could justify it on some level. I will say the dude does a really good job in this movie. It's just unfortunate that he committed suicide shortly thereafter, and I don't know much else that he was in. Alan Lake, yeah, it looks like just TV and stuff over in the UK. So yeah, probably not much to speak of, but yeah, I mean he does stand out in this movie. You've got Belinda Main as Kate, Mark Jones as Detective Sergeant Powell. He's the the other main and detective here in the movie, and really about the only other ones worth mentioning are Jerry Sundquist as Cliff, and I like the way they credited her, Kelly Baker, as the Experience Girl. This is the girl in the Peep Show. She's credited as Experience Girl. So that was pretty good. But Yeah, I mean, did you guys have anything else you wanted to point out before we dive into it?
One thing is a connection this movie has, and this isn't taken away from Donnie's connections because we haven't done this other movie yet, but we should get to it at some point. It's I know it's a kind of a personal favorite, me and Tiana. I know you've seen it, Josh. I don't know if you have, Donnie, but Pieces, the slasher movie.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay. This movie is the two directors, Dick Randall and Stephen Manassian, were the producers on that, and Edward Purdom was the star in that one as well. So it's very, very connected to that movie.
Well, it's even a selling point, at least on one of the posters that I see there. Maybe it was on the cover or something of the tape.
Yeah.
It says from the producers of Pieces. Like, right, I mean, like, it's like the byline right underneath the title, you know?
The main, the blue one with the butcher knife and the present.
Yeah. So they were clearly trying to sell it on, hey, if you like Pieces, there's this.
Yep. Now that we'll get into it a little bit once we get to it when it comes to the gore and things of that nature. I think, when you realize this movie is made by the same people that did Pieces, even though this has got a decent amount of gore going for it, you kind of, if you're comparing it to Pieces, you're like, well, and they could have gone whole hog in that department. It doesn't quite match up to the gore of Pieces, but yeah, so we'll get to that in a little bit.
Mr. Projectionist, stop the show. Here's great news you ought to know. We've just got a shipment of taste-thrilled treats, all tip-top quality and delicious eats. There are hot dogs and popcorn and candy galore. There's soft drinks and coffee and a whole lot more. So direct your steps to our refreshment stand to enjoy the finest snacks in all the land.
For you listeners of the All-American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So I hopped on over to audible.com, and I didn't find anything directly tied to this movie or, just typing in Don't Open Till Christmas. So I just typed in Christmas Horror, see what would pop up. And we've got Christmas in the Empty Cabin by E. Reyes. And that one's just right at 2 hours long. We've also got The Ghost Who Came for Christmas. That is the Haunting Danielle series, book 6. So, Donnie, there's at least 5 previous novels for you there.
Nah.
By Bobby Holmes and Anna J. McIntyre, and that one is almost 9.5 hours long, so that's a good listen for you, Donnie.
Nope.
One more for the holidays, why not? Hark! The Herald Angels Scream by Christopher Golden and other various editors and whatnot. That one's over 11.5 hours long, so, and there's lots of other results there, so, no lack of Christmas horror over on audible.com. So if you want to track any of that stuff down, get your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. So I'm going to hop back over to imdb.com and click on plot summary to see what we've got. And Donnie, you're look, there's only like a short one and then one slightly longer one, so it's not too bad. Somebody with very little Christmas spirit is killing anyone in a Santa suit one London holiday season, and Scotland Yard has to stop him before he makes his exploits an annual tradition. Then we've got the longer one. A murderer is running loose through the streets of London, hunting down men dressed as Santa and killing them all in different and extremely violent fashions. Inspector Harris has decided to take on the unenviable task of tracking down the psychopath, but he's going to have his work cut out for him. Only the suspicious reporter Giles seems to offer the inspector any promising leads. And that was contributed by Jean-Marc Rocher over on IMDb. So, I mean, here I think you gotta start because they didn't waste a second. I don't think we should waste a second. This movie just fucking just like you hit play. Okay, we're here. There is some opening credits, right? But like not after this cold open. So it's just like bam. All right, well, and they set the mood pretty quick because there's a couple. They just decide to just have a good time in an alleyway in their car. Dude walks up and kills them. Now, the one guy, the only thing you pick up on here, right, is one of the guys, or the guy, one of the guys. It's a man and a woman. They get in the car, and the dude is dressed like Santa before he gets in there, right? I think.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of hovers around, and they open up the car. Hey, get the fuck out of here! And then he stabs them both in the cheap ass way. I almost wonder whether this thing on some level was 3D or something. The way some of it, did you either of y'all notice that? Like the way it was kind of like the knife comes towards the screen or whatever they're doing. It just felt like it was,
supposed to be or something, or maybe. I mean, I didn't see anything about it necessarily, and trivia about it being shot that way. But yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean, though.
It almost felt that way, and I didn't see anything about it, and I seriously doubt it was. Maybe they're just trying to go with some interesting angles or something, but it almost felt like that cheap ass early to mid 80s, 3D where it's like, hey, here's this bottle of water, and then they just shove it in your face, in the camera. Thank you.
Yeah.
I always remember that from Friday the 13th Part 3, where it was like that. Here, kind of some
or like the eyeball mashing scene when he squeezes the guy's head and the eyeballs pop out, but they're on little rods that go to the camera like whoop.
Yeah, woo. But yeah,
I'm sure it looked all right in 3D, but when you try and do it in 2D versions of it, it's not so great.
I will say, like, some of the death scenes are pretty inventive in this, especially for 84, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of them. I mean, like, I think I do have the official body count. I'll have to, or, the kill count that Will always does. He sent it to me, so I'll have that later in the show. But, like, man, you don't really get much of a break here. Like, it's not boring, that's for sure. I mean, there might be points where it's kind of like, all right, let's move it along. But, like, the kills keep stacking up, pretty consistently throughout this thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. Yeah, the 2 is, well, not funny, but whatever, just the way that it fell. I think Silent Night, Deadly Night came out in 84, right? Pretty sure.
That sounds about right. I mean, I don't have it in front of me. But, yeah, I mean, like...
Yeah. 2 of these, super gory or hyper violent, whatever, controversial, at least in the case of Silent Night, Deadly Night. I don't know if this one was controversial in Britain or not, but the same year.
Well, it pretty much came out at the same exact time here, so you would think. I mean, now I know that was like the Video Nasty era over there, right? So maybe I didn't see if that was swept up in this.
It was cut, like the scene that I was alluding to earlier in the urinal scene, as we'll get to that one. That scene was trimmed.
Well, I could definitely see that.
The Santa shooting through the mouth.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking.
I don't know how you guys watched this, but I watched it on Shudder, and then I noticed at the very end it said Vinegar Syndrome. So I assume this was some not recut, but restored, because it didn't look bad. You know what I mean? Like visually, it looked pretty good. The copy looked good. So
and like I said, those were restored, so it definitely was that remastered, uncut version.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched it the same way.
Talk about the bathroom scene. Toby was like, "Yeah, it's a little trim. Oh, it's a nice little little trim, huh?"
They circumcised a little bit out of that.
That's the thing too. There's two. If you think about it. Unless I'm misremembering the way that played out, there was 2 pissing Santa scenes here, right?
Yeah, right.
There was a guy like pissing in an alleyway, and then he gets it when then the other guy comes like, "Hey, what the fuck?" And then he gets it, and then there's the urinal Santa.
I was thinking, they probably weren't thinking through it this much, but I'm thinking like maybe they put the first one in there because they're like, oh, here's a Santa peeing or whatever. Then they put the second one in there because they want to throw you off. They put the first one in there so you don't think something's weird. Why are they showing pee? Most movies don't go to that length when somebody's walking the bathroom. So maybe they put the first one in there to throw you off.
I seriously doubt they were putting that much thought into this thing. I mean, you get the first 2 kills right off the bat, so you're like, all right, well, we got the old what do they call that, first person killer going on here. You don't know who it is. Then you get the credits, and then there's a party, and this dude is like the I'm blanking on her name. Was it Kate, the main quote unquote final girl, right? You think Kate, her dad, he's dressed like Santa, and they're at this big party. This motherfucker walks in and hooks a spear through his fucking head. So he's not into the art of subtlety. I mean, in a crowded room, it's like a big Christmas party, and this guy's like, "Hey, I'm Santa Claus. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas."
Wasn't it right when he was blowing one of those, what do you call it thing?
Yeah.
The Christmas, the little holiday blower thing. With the little stuff thing.
New Year's.
The little party favor of this. Everybody knows. You don't have to see it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's got that, and then fucking spear right through his head. So you're maybe 5 to 8 minutes into the movie, and you've already seen 3 murders. So they come pretty quick here. Then another guy. Once again, the hobo Santa. This is where I think where the hobo Santa stuff starts, or at least like drunk Santas, or there's some theme about like all these dudes in this city dressed like Santa are fucking drunks or hobos or something, right? There's a dude in an alleyway or something. He's like on a heater. and then he pushes him on the heater and burns him up, and then the guy dies, I guess, from the initial burning, and then he just fucking puts him back on it and burns him slam the fuck up. Like he just catches on fire like he's doused in, gasoline.
It was it's roasting on the open fire pun or something.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of rough ones here, but one of the more rough ones was when he sticks the pistol in the dude's mouth and
yeah, that one. Yeah, that was the scene originally.
I'd say this movie is going to make it fairly hard for me to pick a highlight kill at the end here, because there are some pretty good ones here. What's with the dude playing the flute on the corner? Like, don't they make a big deal out of like this guy is kind of like a piece of shit and he's dating this girl because she's got money or her dad had money, and now that her dad's dead, there's money involved or something, right? But meanwhile, she's just hanging around with him on the corner playing flute for pennies. So I don't know what. It's like they have this story, and they're like, "What?" I'm sure this is probably just part of the, fucked up situation this movie was in. But it's like they have these little threads of story, and then they just abandon them at some point. Even a little bit later, they start abandoning the whole like he's just killing people dressed like Santa, right? Because then then it's just like, he only kills Santas until he doesn't, right? Like he just starts killing.
Yeah.
He just starts killing anybody. I guess maybe he became unhinged, but. They just dropped that whole premise pretty much by the end.
And I don't know why. I didn't read anything, but it was my guess as to why. It was probably like, we need some more kills in this movie. Maybe he's going to kill some other people other than just Santa.
Well, they just had so many directors, people dip out and, typically you have someone see the story through, even if there's script rewrites or whatever.
And it doesn't help that it sounds like they literally had to blow it up and start over. And then when the dude comes back, that other shit. So at that point, what was his name? Jimmy Self or whatever the hell his name was. That dude, man, I don't envy his job. Having to put that shit.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck is that?
God damn.
That's the last thing he ever did.
Yeah. You know what? He probably didn't get run out of the business. He probably just fucking quit the business after that. Like, fuck this.
Well, I don't want to say it's the last thing he ever did. It's the last thing he ever edited. Okay. So
he found another job.
Yeah.
Maybe he stayed in the biz, but he found another job because fuck that. After having to deal with old Purdom's ass. Edmund.
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
Edmund Purdom. Yeah, we'll go with Purdom. What do you think's the deal with him not killing the model, the nude woman? After the scene where he comes out of this nude photography session, and they're in the alleyway, and then like the cops walk up, and he's like, "Oh shit, let's run! I don't want them to think we're gay." And then they run. Then he's just like, at some point, he's like, "Fuck her," and then she's on her own, and the dude comes up, the killer. He comes up with a straight blade, like a straight razor, and he just kind of like opens. This is gratuitous as fuck, by the way. It just opens her the cloak up and razor, and then just walks away. That was weird.
I guess, did he think that it was, at this point in the movie, he was just killing Santa Claus men, right?
At this point.
Yeah.
Well, he's killing, yes, it's just men.
Even though there's no explanation that, it was not the man. He thought it was another man dressed as Santa type thing. That was the only thing I could explain why he didn't kill him.
Then again, he did kill the woman at the very beginning because, remember, she was in there having sex with the guy in the car. So maybe there was the premise of like, well, you've seen my face, and they do touch on that a little bit later on, but you've seen my face kind of thing. So he would kill outside of the Santa thing, but still the premise up to this point is mostly like, he's just killing dudes dressed like Santa. Then all of a sudden this woman is dressed like Santa. He just stands there awkwardly, like running the razor up her body, and then see ya. And then just takes off. Odd to say the least. The peep show scene.
Oh my goodness!
Now, do you, Donnie? Do you want to talk about your experiences in a peep show?
My experiences in a peep show?
I'm sure you've had tons of experiences. Can you imagine? Can you imagine, man? And then she gives the menu, right? Wasn't it like $5? What was it? It was something like $5. You see this. $10, you get this. Whatever happens on your side of the glass, stays on your side of the glass kind of thing. $50, you get the world. It's kind of that, There was another movie that I watched recently that had the same premise.
Oh,
it was Maniac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't show, but it was Maniac. Whenever they're on the street talking to prostitutes on the street.
He's getting a whore. But it's if you think about it, I just now thought of it. The menu pricing was the same.
Yeah,
I think it was.
That's true. It was 1980. Let's do the math. I don't know. Probably a little bit of inflation there. It should have been probably
a couple years later during the Reagan years. There should have been a little bit of inflation. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's weird. If you think about it now, it's like it's pretty much the same price point. So apparently there must be some accuracy there. Oh, they talk to each other when they're writing the script. Like, yeah, this is the going rate for whores. You know, like, oh, and if you want the world tour, this is $50. You know.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, while we're talking about, oh, never mind. I'll let Donnie do it. I don't want to steal Donnie's thunder. I was about to say.
If you have some connection, he doesn't. You just mention it after he gives his connections. How about
that?
No,
I mean, I'll it probably a small edit. There are no connections at all.
Okay, well.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. You don't connect to Grindhouse Gutter, right?
No.
That's fine. Never mind. I could have mentioned it. I forgot. Well, once we go back.
Go ahead and mention it. And we don't have to edit anything. I mean, we've already talked about Maniac, so go ahead.
Yeah. The other connection to a recent movie we did was Maniac was Carolyn Monroe.
Oh, yeah.
She's in this movie.
Yeah.
At the time.
By the way, I'm going to throw the word gratuitous out there again, too. This is gratuitous Caroline Monroe.
Yeah.
It feels like there's more of a story there, right? Like she just happened to be there and somebody knew her. Like, hey, do you want to be in this for a minute? Okay, fuck it. I mean, because she doesn't do anything other than sing.
That seems to be how the whole movie was done, right? From the oh, you want to direct? Well, you could direct. No, what? 2 days later, he's fired. I don't know. He didn't work out 2 days later. Okay, how about you? You guy editing the movie. Can you come over here and also direct?
Ah, shit, my big break. Purdom's back.
Shit.
And he brought Carolyn Monroe with him. Yeah, that was weird.
I mean, it's really surprising that this movie came out coherent at all. I mean, yeah, there's some parts where it's maybe, it's not so coherent because of all that, but it is really just surprising how it didn't come out a complete disaster.
Yeah, I mean, you do get a story out of this, somewhat cohesive, although it does jump around a little bit. It's not the best put together thing, but by and large, you get a presentable movie. So yeah, it's a Christmas miracle. That's what I call it. It's a Christmas miracle. I don't know what kind, but it's a miracle nonetheless. What kind of, all right, after the Peep Show thing, when the dude's, he's a perv and the serial killer just walks up because he's dressed like Santa and just fucking slashes his throat and blood all over the glass. Right after that, there was another hobo Santa that's running around and he runs into this, I don't know what the fuck he ran into. It was a house of horrors out of nowhere. What the fuck was that place?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the London Dungeon?
London Dungeon scene, yeah. And that, as soon as I saw it,
I need more context.
What popped in my head immediately was the Misfits song, London Dungeon.
I need more context, though. Is there something I don't know about? Like, what is that? Is that like a house of horrors that's always there or used to be there or something? What is that?
Well, I know the London Dungeon thing was, if we're talking about the Misfits, it's because they got thrown in prison in London. And they wrote the song London Dungeon about being in prison. So it has nothing to do with that. So I don't know if that place is a permanent thing or just something for the movie. Or the fact that it's barely in there and that or the disjointedness that we talked about of the movie and the script and all that stuff. Maybe there was more written.
It seemed like to me, and once again, maybe we do have some people that listen in the UK. Maybe you guys can help us out and explain it a little bit. It seems to me like this was not part of the movie in the sense like they didn't make that place. Like that seemed like a place that was there and then they just went in there and shot a scene in it.
I think it was a wax museum.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. But it was just like, what the fuck? What's going on here? And it's like a long thing too. Like it's like all of a sudden it becomes an infomercial for this fucking place.
It's like Adam and Eve, and
there's some weird projection devil on the face of one of them or something where it looks like he's talking, and then it leads up to one of the earlier bodies that he had killed being hung upside down, and it was the woman that he randomly ran into when he walked in. Now that was weird too, right? Dude runs into this place
quick.
Yeah, but also but like she kind of like it's almost like she opens up her arms like, "Hey, I've been waiting on you," and then he just fucking knocks her over, right? Like and then the serial killer walks in and kills her, right? But it was just a weird setup to get there. It was just like maybe there was some more story with her that they cut out beforehand that would make this make sense. But
by the way, too, while we're still on this kind of a little bit, I did look up the London Dungeon, and it is an actual place, tourist attraction, and this is according to Wikipedia. Tourist attraction haunted attraction along London's South Bank, England, which recreates various gory and macabre historical events in a gallows humor style. It uses a mixture of live actors, special effects, and rides.
So this sounds like something that if the Spook Show gang is ever able to make it over to merry old London, then we got to go to this place.
Yeah, still there.
And opened up. And by the way, we'll only go there not because of what it is, but because they filmed parts of Don't Open Till Christmas in there. That's the only reason we want to go there.
Yeah. They're like, the curator's like, you want to see the shit? No, I'm like, where did they shoot the scenes from Don't Open?
And then even they'll be like, what movie, what the fuck are you talking about?
They're like, I'm sure they probably don't advertise the London Dungeon where Don't Open Till Christmas.
Yeah, that's one of the selling points in the Chamber of Commerce. The first pissing hobo, or, Santa that gets it here, he gets it with a fucking, he's got knife boots. All of a sudden, what? He turns into like fucking James Bond. He's got a switchblade that pops out of his boot, and he just crotches him. And when the guy goes down, he just fucking punches him with like some spike gloves right in the throat.
Knife is a surprisingly popular thing from the 80s. In a lot of movies, it popped up, right?
Oh, I totally thought when I was younger that like I would run into somebody at some point that had a switchblade boot. We've talked about before with quicksand, right? I thought at some point in my life I would encounter quicksand and also a dude with a switchblade boot. Thanks, 80s, for fucking me up. He kills that dude, and then another Santa, like, hey, what the fuck? He just smashes that dude with a bottle and stabs him in the face, like in the eye, and the eye is just
the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes. And also, though, it's pretty funny how that bottle. I don't know if you noticed the bottle when he smashed it over his head. He just smashed it all the way. Basically, there's nothing left of the bottle, and then the next scene, it reconstituted itself into a shard so he could stab in the eye.
So it looks like a Jello mold eye. It looks like it's popping out. It reminds me of the Jello mold from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Aunt Edna or whatever her name was. Boy, they were really proud of how many shots they could get of New Scotland Yard, huh? Because God damn, you see that sign a lot in this movie. Hey, we had cooperation from Scotland Yard. By the way, did you know that we had cooperation from Scotland Yard?
Real quick and shot there before they came out and shoot us away.
They literally probably got 2 angles during the day and 2 angles at night, and then ran away, and then just used the fuck out of it when old Self was putting this movie together. Because it's the establishing shot at least a dozen times. The killer kidnaps the Peep Show girl for whatever reason. Like, it's another one where he doesn't kill her. So clearly he's got some kind of hang up with women, right? That's part of what's going on here, although it's not necessarily fleshed out or explained. But he doesn't kill her until, he tries to later. The Carolyn Monroe scene where she's singing on the stage, and then he axes that dude in the face, and then puts him on that stage riser, and then just raises him up. So I think that's literally, like, other than Carolyn Monroe singing, it's the only real quote unquote acting line she has is just screaming in reaction to this guy, right?
I saw in here where they just shot her scenes in one day, and that was it. I don't know.
I have to think this had to have been a favor. Like, she knew one of these dudes, producers, somebody, and they're like, "Oh, you're singing now? Okay, well, we can put that in the movie if you don't mind." Yeah, okay. And then one day, that's just shoehorned in to me. But then you get one of the better kills of the movie, the urinal Santa, where he's taking a piss, and then dude, motherfucker just appears out of nowhere and slices his dick off with a razor blade.
Yeah, they show the urinal, they show the piss, and then they cut away, and then there's the blood.
I love the janitor comes in afterwards, like, mop, mop, mop. Oh, man, somebody pissed all over the floor.
His weenus would be laying on the urinal or something.
They didn't go that far.
But no, they didn't go that
far. Mop, 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 all day long. What the fuck?
It wasn't street trash, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, God, no. Still pretty fucking graphic for the day, though, right?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely, you wince. Any man.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to wince
man,
at that scene.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Any man for sure.
Jesus.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. God damn it! Now I'm blanking on the name of the movie. Hold on. Famous dick cutting movie. Go.
Oh, I Spit on Your Grave is another
I
one.
Spit on Your Grave. Now, that had come out before this, right?
Yeah, that was 80.
Wolf Cop?
Don't hold me to it. No, it might have been 79.
No,
I forget.
Wolf Cop was many years later. I'm trying to get what was the first on-screen dick-capitation. Here we go again, goddammit. We got another dick-capitation. We just pointed this out like not long ago.
Yeah, I can't remember I don't even remember what it was we were talking about then.
It was recent. Like within the last month, it was recent. I have to go back and look. But yeah, we got yet another one. And
we're gonna have to look that up though. We're gonna have to find out because I don't know for sure if this is the first.
Well, I Spit on Your Grave.
First. I mean, I don't know for sure if I Spit on Your Grave is the first or not. Actually, there was one in I
Spit on Your Grave came out in 78. Although you could, I guess here's the 78? Argument. And that came out in 78. But here's the argument, Smoke, since I know you've seen it. Which one's more graphic?
Well, I mean, I think the one that hits you harder is the one from I Spit on Your Grave.
Because that's brutal.
In the tub, you don't know exactly what's going. You know something's going to happen, like right here, and then you kind of put it together. And then when she does what she does, and he's like, oh, and then it's all just the water's turning blood red and all that. And
and the fact that it feels like it takes 15 minutes for this to play out. By the way, that movie.
Yeah, it's a bit more visceral, sure, than this one. Yeah, I mean they're both effective, but that one's more effective. I think
this one's quicker. This one's quicker for sure. And then you just see the dude a few minutes later in a heap of blood. Whereas that one's kind of they hang around for it for a while. I'll give you that. Then you finally you're getting towards the end game here. Giles, who has kind of been this reporter that's kind of helping them along the way, he finally reveals himself as Inspector Harris's brother. So this is where the plot twists start to come in, right? So apparently he's been in the mental hospital for some time. I guess we piece together, right? Or they come out and say, I don't remember, but he's been away and now he shows back up and starts doing this. Meanwhile, he tried to help another inspector, the other guy, Detective Sergeant Powell. He kind of tries to help him solve the crime so he'll get a promotion, I guess is kind of part of his motivation. So is he just trying to fuck his brother out of his job, I guess, kind of? Is that what this is about? And even in the flashback that you get here in a second, that doesn't explain necessarily why he would want to fuck his brother over, does it? I mean, that's where you get the reveal of why he hates Santa. Okay.
Yeah.
So to fast forward a little bit, the flashback that you randomly, and by the way, this has got to be one of the worst flashbacks in the sense of like cut together because it's just like, okay, wait a minute, this is a flashback, right? It's not obvious. It takes you a second, like, oh, wait a minute. Now we're going to find out why he hates Santa. And the reason he hates Santa is because his dad was dressed like Santa and fucking around on his mom. And he walks in on it. And then the mom walks in like, oh, shit. And then one of the funniest stair falls I've ever seen in my life. She just kind of falls back like, oh, shit. Yeah. And then falls to her death. So, okay, that's his she didn't fall. She just faded away.
It's like Stephen Hawking backing up.
Except down steps. So that's why he hates Santa. Okay. All right. It's stupid, but I'll go with it. But it still doesn't explain why he hates his brother, because clearly he's got a hate boner for his brother, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of these things can be explained by the like we mentioned before with all the the script changes, the director changes.
Yeah. And I guess at the end they're playing mop up duty. Like, fuck, we got to make this make sense somehow. Flashback. Lady that's playing his mom, can you pretend that you're dying falling down the steps? Oh yeah, I can nail it. and then we get that. But before we get to that flashback though, the guy that, the other cop, Detective Sergeant Powell, he gets electrocuted by, I don't even know is that even possible? Like the way that happens, is that real? I don't think. You just take the car battery thing off and like put it on some metal, and then when the dude touches the car, it's just, I don't know.
Maybe if you linked a bunch of batteries together in a circuit.
Yeah, but like he pretty much explodes almost. Like it's so powerful, right? Like,
yeah. The way the guy's just watching him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The guy playing Giles, Alan Lake. Unfortunately, he had died, but he plays the crazy awesome in this movie, I think. Like, with the look in his eyes and just his facial expressions and everything. I mean, he's got crazy down here. He might have been up for some bigger things later on if that hadn't happened, right?
Yeah.
Finally, we come back to the peep show girl that he had kidnapped, and she essentially, I guess you think she kills Giles, which I think she definitely would have killed him there, right? Like, this is when you have to kind of play along with the horror movie. Things. Yeah, you kind of have to play along with horror movie mind here, because like he's fighting her, he's trying to hit her with a chain, and she grabs a chain, wraps it around the top of the stairs, and pulls it, and he flips off. This dude falls probably 3 or 4 stories down like a stairwell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She goes down, and of course he wakes up and strangles her. No. That dude would have been fucking dead for sure, or at least severely mangled. But he's not even bleeding. You know, he's just kind of down there like asleep, and then strangles her. Then you get the flashback. Then you finally, the final scene, you finally get the payoff, which we didn't mention. Towards the beginning of the movie, Inspector Harris gets a package at his home that says, "Don't open till Christmas." See, this is where they get the title of the movie in the actual movie here. He's got a package. He's the events have happened. By the way, how the fuck did Giles did die from that, right? He strangled her? What happened there? I'm blanking. What happened to him?
Then mother woke up. Like he dreamed it or something. It was weird. The way they edited that.
Yeah, because now it's like, wait a minute. He just... Okay, well, fuck it. Who cares, right? They didn't care. We won't care. Something happened to him. Something happened to him. Fuck if I know. They cut to Inspector Harris. That package has been sitting here the whole movie. I'm going to open it. And it's like one of those little music boxes, right? You open up and ding, 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 ding. It's playing Christmas music, whatever the fuck. Oh, that's nice. And sits it down. Then he goes and sits in his recliner, and then boom! It blows up. The end. So, yeah, there you go. Don't open till Christmas. Tiana, we'll let you have the honor. Ladies first. We'll let you go first. What's your thoughts and what's your rating on it?
This one was entertaining, that's for sure. Just the edited shots, I guess.
You mean the lack of proper editing? You mean?
Yeah.
Well, that does. Yeah, I guess I'll give you that. It does make it a little more entertaining.
But yeah, the kills were good, so I was surprised by that. But my rating, I'll give it a 3 or 2.5, actually.
Okay, 2.5. Donnie, what do you say?
So yeah, I'm gonna. When I first saw the, I saw the same kind of little poster image that you all saw, where it was from the producers of Pieces.
Yeah,
I liked Pieces, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So this should be at least in the same vein-ish. Sadly mistaken, but yeah, I mean, for all of the reasons we've talked about already. But no, like much like Tiana said, the kills were plentiful and creative, inventive for the time, and satisfying as well. If you want to call chopping somebody's dick off to kill them, it's satisfying or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna give it a 2.
Professor, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I agree both with Tiana and Donnie as far as it being entertaining, and then like as Donnie mentioned, it being produced by the guys that produced Pieces. When I heard that, I'm like, okay. But then, as I mentioned in the beginning too, it doesn't quite get you to where Pieces was as far as even though there was a decent amount of gore in this movie, it's not on the level of Pieces, or just craziness, or just stuff that was going on in that movie. Not as good as Silent Night, Deadly Night. We haven't done. I did To All a Good Night on Grindhouse Gutter, I believe, last Christmas, and that rating, Grindhouse rating, all that's a little bit different than what we do on the show here. But if I'm comparing it to that one, I still kind of like. I think this one edges it out a little bit just because of how gory the kills are in it. So I think I'll go with 2 3/4.
And I think that's about where I'm at. I wanted to go a 3, but like I don't know if I can bring myself to do that. So I'm going to say 2 3/4 as well, because like I think as kind of all over the place it is at some points, it's still entertaining. Yeah. Like it never gets boring to me. You get tons of kills, you get some pretty good gore, especially for the time. With the urinal thing and all that. So I think there's enough entertainment here. Now, is it something you would put in your Christmas horror rotation? Yeah, probably not. You know, it's for
year basis.
You know, I go all the way back to one of the first Christmas horrors that we did, Smoke, and I think of Christmas Evil for some reason with this, and that one I gave 2.5, and I think this one's better than that. So I'm, you know, just based on that, you know, and because it does remind me of that for some reason, you know.
It's not just that style.
Yeah,
that low budget style that one had.
It's not as gritty as that, but still, yeah, it's very similar. And, you know, if you think about it, it is kind of, it doesn't feel like 1984 in this movie, does it? It feels like the 70s to me.
Yeah, true.
Maybe that's just the UK thing, you know. I don't know what the specific reasonings for that would be, but it kind of feels older than 1984.
I mean, it's a little bit older, right? Because it started in 82.
True. They started in late 82, and then, yeah, it took forever to make, but still, it just feels more like a 70s movie to me, but, you know, with more gore. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's plenty of fun to be had here, and I would recommend it at least for that. So that pretty much leaves us at, I'd say about consensus. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you what Will's, because he gave me his rating earlier. I forgot to tell you what he said. He gave it the lowest rating of all of us. He gave it 1.5 stars. I think from what he told me, it seems like he's very similar in his thoughts on the movie, but it, like, you know, he pointed out to me that like the rules change and everything like that. So I think that kind of like, all right, what the fuck is this? You know, this thing's all over the place. So I think that affected his score more than it probably
I could see that.
You know, talking it out, but so 1.5 stars. So that leaves us with a consensus roughly of about 2.25 stars from all 5 of us right now. So I think that's fair enough to say that we recommend you check it out at least once, but it's probably not one that you're going to put on your annual Christmas horror list. I wouldn't think, you know, unless you're watching a lot of them every holiday season. So, Donnie, you said you did not. I mean, do we even bother with the connection? You said you didn't have any proper connections?
No, I didn't have anything.
So we don't have any connections for Donnie to make, but we do have And even though Will's not here to deliver the official number himself, he gave me the official count of 18. And I'm not going to go through the entire list of all the kills because I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit with the gore score here in a second. But we've talked a good bit about it throughout the episode. There were a lot of kills here. So 18 sounds about right. There is quite a bit of blood in this movie. So that naturally, I think, leads us to... Let's talk about the kill reel.
Highlight kill.
We talked about it enough, I think. The one that stands out to me that I will think of when I think of this movie is the urinal. The urinal Santa getting his dick cut off with a straight blade razor. And
decapitation.
Another decapitation. But it comes so much out of nowhere, too. It's like, all right, well, we're just watching this dude go to the bathroom. Oh, shit! You know, he just kind of reaches in with his hand like, yeah. And then just,
yeah.
Out of nowhere. So yeah, it's probably the one that I'm going to think of the most. You know, when I think of this movie again, many, many months and years down the road, I'll think of that. So I'm going to go with that. So that lastly leads us to
Gore Score.
Yeah, this is pretty decent amount of gore here. Like we've talked about. I mean, it was from the producers of Pieces, so I expected some. And it does deliver. So 18, wasn't that we said the kill count was about 18?
Yep, that's what the official count from Will himself, 18.
Probably most of those were knifings of some sort of variety. From your highlight kill of the castration, that's probably, like I said, the goriest. I mean, well, there's plenty of other gorier castrations in this movie, but any castration it starts by showing him at the urinal taking a piss and then lop, and then it's blood. So, I mean, it's... You feel that viscerally. It's like, oh shit, you know. So it's gory enough and like I said, visceral enough to you that you wince for sure seeing that scene. So then the Santa Claus taking the gun through the mouth or whatever, that was pretty intense. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stabbings. Stabs in the neck, stabs in the stomach, stabs in the chest,
in the eye.
Stabs in the bottle, half broken bottle that was all the way fully broken, then reconstituted itself into a half broken bottle somehow. Stabbed through the eyeball. What else was there? There was wasn't there something with the machete in the face?
Yeah. Well, maybe that was the one I thought I said was the axe, the one with the guy on the stage riser. Yeah. Right to the face.
The spear the spear was pretty awesome with the party favor as they cap it off.
The peep show Santa.
Yeah, the peep show Santa. That was pretty. Yeah, just splattered blood all over the window, or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, there's plenty of gore. I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna go with about what I gave Silent Night, Deadly Night, whenever that was, a couple years back maybe. So yeah, I'll go with a 7. I think that overall this movie had more kills than Silent Night, Deadly Night, but they had I think they're kind of on par with the amount of gore, even though there were more kills in this.
Well, there you go. That'll pretty much wrap it up for Don't Open Till Christmas. Although I want to take a couple of minutes here at the end to say, first and foremost, next week on the show, you've been waiting this long, I'll go ahead and tell you, we're going to have our Viewer's Choice winner. We don't know if that person is going to come on the show or not, but they have the opportunity to. And they get to pick the movie that we watch. So we'll let you know what that movie is going to be and whether or not that person will join us or not next week. So right now, all I can say is that's what we're going to have planned for Christmas Day, but we don't know what that's going to be yet. So it'll be just as surprising to us as it is to you and everyone involved when that person picks the selection. But a couple of weeks back, Tiana, you and the professor were not here for 2 straight episodes because you guys were taking a vacation trip around the Thanksgiving holiday. So you were not here for our latest Cult Corner UHF, and you were not here for Hereditary when we did that. And Donnie, that was your selection. You weren't even here for it. It was just Will and I, but we got your thoughts. You recorded some stuff and sent it to us, so we got your thoughts. But are either of you guys prepared to say a word and give your ratings for UHF and Hereditary?
Hereditary, I guess UHF. I've seen it.
Yeah,
plenty of times.
So, and now Tiana, this will be your first foray in the cult corner. We do have a slightly different scale there. Like we kind of compare them to quote unquote legitimate theater in a way, but also if it is what it is. So it kind of has a different scale because we probably rate those a little higher, because it's movies we love because they're cult favorites. But also, we could go lower because, you're comparing it to Goodfellas and stuff like that. So, with that in mind, what do you think about it?
UHF is is one of those really fun flicks that you can throw on whenever. I give it a 3.
Smoke, have you watched it recently enough to say a word on it, or what do you think?
Well, no, I mean, I've watched it. I'll put it this way: I haven't watched it recently, but I have watched it many times enough to. To get my rating and comment on it. But yeah, it's sort of I wouldn't say it's not like a personal absolute favorite, but it is one that I'd love and will watch anytime that it happens to be on anywhere or, I haven't watched it fairly recently, but I want to, even though we weren't on the show, I'd still probably go back and watch this soon because it's, I was glad that it came up and that it won. Unfortunately, not glad that I had to miss the show though.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's Weird Al Yankovic, and I mean, he's in top form in this movie at the time. So kind of peak of his, music career and all that stuff too. I think the writing was great on it. The comedy, the jokes and everything work. It's got, what's his name? Kramer?
Yeah.
Michael Richards.
Michael Richards in it. And the fire hose, So.
He gets the fire hose.
That whole, just the whole concept, working at a TV station, as you do still, and as I used to.
Yeah.
You get that in there. I mean, of course, I wasn't working at the TV station when this came out, but I can look back and hindsight on it.
I would love to work at a TV station that was like that.
Yeah, that would be fun as shit.
That'd be a forever job right there.
Yeah, but yeah, that whole concept of the UHF station, all these different segments and everything that they're able to put together, almost like it plays like a sketch comedy, but also like a fully fledged movie at the same time.
Yeah,
I thought that's pretty cool. I'll give it a 3.5. Enjoy that one.
That's not too far off from what the rest of us said. Donnie, you gave it 3.25. Will gave it a perfect 5. And,
did he?
Yeah, and I gave it 4 because but I think especially for Will and I both, we were on the episode and it's got that sentimental part too. It was one that we both watched a lot of growing up, so there's a little bit of that at play too. But it's definitely not a perfect movie. It's corny as hell, but like you said, Smoke, it's peak Weird Al. You know,
Oh yeah,
they're in 1989. So
those things you have to like Weird Al to like this movie at all.
Yeah.
Because if somebody doesn't like him, it's not like people that don't like Nick Cage or the people that don't like whatever, insert whatever actor here. They're not gonna.
If you don't like Weird Al and you don't like that weird kind of late 80s, early 90s alt comedy type stuff, don't watch UHF. But if you dig it on any level, then yeah, you'll love it. And you've probably watched it 100 times like we have. What about Hereditary? Did y'all want to say a word on that one? Or Tiana, you want to have a word or 10?
Yeah, this is probably the most disappointing thing for her to have missed.
Yeah, I'm heartbroken. I missed that episode because this has become my favorite horror.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I wouldn't go that far.
The theater.
I wouldn't go that far myself, but I could see where it would be someone's, top flight.
Yeah, it really got under my skin, let's say.
Same. Ditto. It did me too. It was like 2 or 3 days afterwards. I'm like, what did I watch?
And it blew me away, especially like, who's this director? This was his first time.
Yeah. Ari Aster.
Debut, and fantastic acting.
Yeah, Toni Collette should have got at least a Oscar nomination that year for that.
Yes. I hate that they ignored it completely.
Well, it's horror, so, such is life. Yeah. But, man, she should have at least been nominated for something.
Yeah. Oh, that one is, that was just somebody's choice, right?
That was actually Donnie's choice. And he wasn't there for it. Donnie, you actually picked both those movies. You nominated UHF and you weren't there, and you picked Hereditary and you weren't there.
Yeah.
Good job. I mean, good job on the picks, just not a good job for showing up. I'm sure.
But, yeah.
I'm sure, Donnie, if you hadn't picked it, she probably would have, right? So.
Oh, at some point.
Yeah.
Does this go up to 5?
Yeah, that's the top of the top 5. Yeah.
Yeah, 5. Definitely a 5 for me.
I thought you were going to say 6. Go up to 5, then 6. Turn it up to 11 and break off the knob. Yeah, I'm not going to argue it. Smoke, what do you say?
Great. I guess you call it that. What's the kids calling these days? Elevated horror.
Yeah. I just call them smart. But yeah.
Yeah, it falls into that category, and it came along at a time when I think at the same time it's kind of like, well, not at the same time, but The Witch kind of opened the door for this type of thing. I think as far as theatrical, bigger. I want a bigger budget, but on a wider screen, on a wider scale.
It was in the last decade or so of where you actually have some like well put together, well written, well directed, well acted horror, as opposed to just like, here's the latest Scream or Saw movie.
Yeah, because we're kind of back in that glut a little bit now. But yeah, there was that time from like 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, and until COVID.
Yeah.
So that time in there, that probably 2015 to 2020. Where you had a lot of these movies coming out, and it was a good time. It was kind of a renaissance for horror, I guess, and for that kind of related, artsy type horror. This one came out at the peak of that. Also, I guess he takes his time with these movies. Hell, this was his first one. He's only done 2 other movies. One of them's not fully horror, right? But Midsommar being the second movie,
and
which
we've done 2 of his 3 movies here on the Spook Show already.
Yeah. He's one of the few that we could say we've almost completed his filmography up to this point.
Yeah, other than short films, and that latest one was Beau Was Afraid, which if we ever get to that, it would be like Cult Corner or something, right?
True. Yeah. That probably would be, because I think it's got some. I guess we haven't seen it, so I guess it's got some horror-ish elements in it, but it's not full on like Midsommar or Hereditary would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it too. I see what, like you were saying, like Tiana was saying, I can see how it could be somebody's favorite horror movie. It can make it into that, slot. And as you watch it more, you see, but maybe you like it more, maybe, or whatever, maybe something else will come along too. It's harder for me for a new movie to come along because I'm set in my ways,
Yeah.
So it's really hard for a new movie that's going to come along and knock out. I can pretty much tell you nothing's going to probably knock my top out, because it's we already know from doing it on the show, it's Dawn of the Dead, the original, 78. And that's it's for many reasons besides it just being a great movie. So it'd be a miracle for something to come along and take the top spot. But this movie is a great film, for a great modern horror film, great elevated horror, if you want to put it that way or whatever. Although I think we're getting into a certain amount of inundation with the elevated horror films. Everybody that puts out a horror film these days seems to want to put out that kind of movie, and and the market's going to be is kind of flooded at the moment. So maybe it'll take Ari Aster or whenever Nosferatu comes out from Robert Eggers. Yeah. Be definitely looking forward to that one. But I'm kind of hoping some of these other ones will kind of pull back a little bit, because I can't stand it when something happens and then the market gets flooded with a whole bunch of the same stuff, only not as good a quality, So, but money talks when we're talking about movies. So, but no, for this one, I'll give it 4 stars. I do really love it especially for a modern movie.
And Professor, you are exactly where the rest of us were. Donnie, Will, and myself, we all gave it 4. So, Tiana, you were the one that raised the bar a little bit, made the consensus jump up a little bit. But I mean, I'm not going to argue it.
Yeah, it's really tough to.
It's just
tough to argue.
And I'm not going to be the one that does, because that is just so well done, well put together, great flick. So it's not necessarily the way we would normally kind of kick off the holiday season, so to speak, right? You kind of throw this dark movie at us right before Christmas, but it was a good choice nonetheless, Donnie. So
we do.
That's it for this week. We'll leave it there. Like I said a few minutes ago, we do not know what we're going to be watching next week. You'll find out when you get the episode there next Monday on Christmas Day. That's our Christmas gift to you, is a mystery selection picked by one of the viewers of the show. So, and we got lots of stuff coming up after that for New Year's and everything, because right after that, the next week, the next episode will come out on January 1st, and that will be our 2023 year in review. Now, that's not necessarily what we've done here on the Spook Show over the last year. That will just be our thoughts on 2023 horror. Some of the stuff we love, some of the stuff we didn't, and I got a few I didn't. I got a few I love, but I got a few I didn't either. So it's going to be an interesting episode once we dive into that, I think. So you don't want to miss a thing coming up here through the holidays. So for Will, who couldn't be with us, Donnie, Tiana, Professor Smoke, I'm Josh. We are the All-American Spook Show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Please replace the speaker on its rack when you're ready to leave. Failure to do so will damage both the speaker and your car. We'll be grateful, and so will the patrons who follow you.